and older students, something I want you guys to remember as we do this is that same thing I was just saying about we really want to pay attention to what we're actually seeing, not what our brain is telling us we're seeing. Clear things are made of glass, so you can see what's ever through them. But as we're painting, we really have to pay attention to what the actual colors that we're seeing are. So here, it's not just a clear thing on a black surface. The colors you're actually seeing are, it's like a darker gray, maybe a very, very light gray. I know you want to think this is white sometimes, but the only white spots in here are actually this light, right? That's right here. This is white up here. These edges are white. And this little spot is white, but the rest, this is light gray, that's light gray, this is dark gray, it's kind of like a medium gray. So I'm not sure if you guys remember that day with our sketchbook where I had all the pictures of the 3D forms on the page, and you guys wrote like a D where it was darkest, and an M where it was medium, and then an H where there's like a highlight. You can even see it right here right now in the video. There's like this really white highlight. So only the highlight is pure white. So again, as we do this, just think of, we're just doing different versions of gray. Dark gray, light gray, white. So just keep that in mind as we do this, because to do our watercolors and make gray, we can only really use this the black on our palette. That's all we have. So you just have to add more or less water to make it look gray. So again, we're going to take I'm going to use my skinny brush, just because there's some kind of sharp lines right here. There's almost like a line. It's almost like a line, the little ones we drew in before. So we're almost going to paint in each of those shapes one by one. Great. So I'm going to dry off this, and then I'm gonna get a little bit of water. Okay, so to make black into gray, we're gonna have to make it pretty watery. I'm gonna test out here. Yeah, oh, it's so actually almost brown. Oh. But and if that's like your case too, I think this black just has some brown in it, or it's just really dark brown. Okay, so it looks like this actually isn't even black, but I will still try to pretend like it's black. I think this is dark brown too. Oh, okay, yeah, they're both brown. Okay, so I'm realizing that my watercolors don't actually even have black on them. So I'm just going to use this brown color and treat it like I'm doing a light, medium, and dark gray. When really it's going to be light, medium, dark brown, but that's okay too. Again, that's why we want to think about what the value is, if it's light, medium, or dark, because then you can apply that to any color, right? That's our tints and our shades. So I'm gonna use a lot of water. So first, because I'm not really sure what it's gonna turn out like, I'm gonna start with the darkest part, because I'm a little bit more confident with my paintbrush. So the darkest part in our darkest shape we see is this back triangle, right? It's like the darkest gray that's in our shape. So I'm gonna start with that. And again, this little beam will be colored in, but mine's not because I did the color on the other sheet. But it's this part right here, it would be normally colored in. So I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna feel, okay, I want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm gonna try to be really careful about keying in. So again, if you have art paper, that's probably better, but I'm gonna even do it a little bit darker, because I think it can be a little darker even. And then I just need to do the same up here. Make it a darker, but still almost like and then if you have this with a black watercolor, it'd be dark gray, but I just don't have that. Add in a little bit more color to make it a little darker, and then even here my color is just sinking on the paper, but try to make it all as dark as we can. Okay, great. So the next place I see kind of that similar darker color is in this shape over here. You guys notice on here there's this very thin white line that's in between it. So if you guys can keep a little tiny line there, you could try to, but again, it might be really hard. So you can always go back in later after it's all dry, and maybe even use a little bit of your white watercolor on top. But again, you have to wait till it's all dry or else it's gonna bleed in. So I'm gonna still do dark color over there. Maybe try to leave a little white space, but again, it's kind of hard, so no problem if you can't. I'm gonna add some more water to this. Okay. So make it darker again. I'm gonna try to leave the tiniest bit of white. Okay. So I tried to leave a really tiny bit of white right there, you guys see, so that when it, and I know mine, the paint's kind of shining the lights off because it's wet, but when it dries, it'll be less. But then there's a tiny little bit of white space I left right there. Okay, so now I'm gonna do our next darkest, or the next lightest one. So I think actually this side right here, it's pretty dark, but it's still lighter than this. You can see where it's dividing. So we're gonna do this side next. So I'm gonna get more water. I might even start by putting a little bit of water up here because my paintbrush already has a little bit of color on it to just get it started. And then you can add the more color on top too if you need to. So I might add a little bit more color because I don't want it to be as dark as that, but I still want it to be a little bit darker. So that might even have been too much, but. Okay, so you guys see it's still dark, but I can see the line in between. That's what we want to do. Okay, and then the next part that I think is maybe the next lightest, or maybe even when I got my guys, if you guys do, is if you see over here in this corner, on here, it's also pretty dark right there. I just got some water on it, but so I might actually do this little triangle next. So again, you're just painting in each shape that you made. That's why it's helpful to kind of mark out the shapes. We're just doing each shape. So I'm gonna put a little bit of this in here, this little triangle, maybe even just the carefulest little bit more. Oh, that might have been too dark. Sometimes I just use my finger too to try to get some of the paint off if I did too much. Okay, so you can still see the line in between, but it's still a little darker now. Okay. So then what we want to do is, I think our next darkest places are going to be here, this like bottom middle shape that we made in between the two little triangles, and then maybe right here is kind of like a matching lightness. So again, I'm going to do this bottom triangle shape, and then this one up here. Oops, sorry, I painted on there. But so I'm going to start with this shape on our paper. So again, I might just put some water down first because I'm not really sure. Darkening feet. And then you guys see, there is a little white space there too. I didn't actually leave it that other time. I didn't do a very great job of leaving it, but I might put some white on after to kind of lighten it up. So again, I might just put some water here at first. And already with the water, because my paintbrush is brown, it's already like a lighter brown, but I might even add a little bit more color too to make it still light, but okay, there. So now it's another lightness. So I'm gonna try to match that on this side while being careful to go around my little circle. So here you just a little bit the finer details that you have to be careful of. So actually even too, I might even draw another line to mark out where the white is on here, because there's this white spot up here that I want to try not to color in, so I'm just going to mark it really quick, just so to help myself be aware. I'm going to add the tiniest little bit. Oh, see that? Got kind of a lot too. Oops. And watercolors are kind of finicky, so it's not always exact, but and then I wanted to leave my nice bright white spot. Okay. I'm gonna add a couple more details. I'm seeing there's a really white bright spot at the bottom here. So I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see this. Just really white bright spot at the bottom here, but I actually even see almost there's a line. That line that I drew for this almost goes up too. So I'm gonna draw it a little bit too, just to. So again, I'm getting pretty detailed with this, and you guys don't have to get this detailed, but I like to take my time and do all the small details. That helps me. Okay, so this next part I see that's kind of darkish, or that's like a similar darkness maybe, is these little triangles right here, that one in the corner, and maybe this one too, and a little bit of this one also. So again, I'm gonna try to stay very light. I might add a lot of water. Sometimes if I just add a lot of water in my thing, it helps. Oh, whoopsie. Okay. So, I'm gonna do this little, so I already did that corner, but maybe even this little bottom part now. I'm just, again, doing it, this is like the wet on wet method. I'm gonna put some wet water, some water on first, and then just take a little, this very watered down brown I did earlier. I'm just gonna dip my paintbrush in it barely so that I can stay really light. And then I'm actually gonna do this little corner too, it's kind of similar. And then I'm gonna do my one I did over here. Again, trying to keep it pretty light. And maybe even up here, it's a little bit darker. Okay, great. And then lastly, I'm just gonna do this other little spot in the corner that I think is pretty light. So I might even just use my paintbrush that's still kind of wet and like put some water on it. That might even be too dark for me, but that's okay. Great. So in the picture, it's a little more, there's a little bit more blending that you see, but just for the sake of ease, we're doing this really easy, splitting it up. And again, if you can do it in gray, that's probably better because then it'll match like a clear thing through your background. But I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit.